Hello, and welcome. Today, I have a very special chat for you aimed at those 8 years and older, but not too much older. In other words, the older folks now. I ask you to let the youngsters listen because it's them I want to talk to. I want to tell you a very interesting story. I want to share with you the history of the Kybalion. What is the Kybalion? It's the name of a book that has some very interesting things, which I wanted to share with you. You know, when you're about to go on a trip, when you reach out to that friend who has already traveled, had an amazing trip to that place, and you ask them what they have to say, which places are cool to visit, which places aren't great, which places are dangerous, where you absolutely must go. Then you jot all these things down, fold it up, and tuck it into your backpack. It's a travel backpack, so you don't miss out on enjoying yourself. Everything you need to enjoy and also avoid danger and risky situations. Someone who had a good trip knows how to give you all these tips. The Kybalion is a book somewhat like that. It's a collection of tips for you to have an amazing journey about the things you can enjoy, how you can make the most of the trip, and those things that are a bit dangerous. Where you might get lost, those places that are a bit strange, it's a travel tip for you to put in your backpack. But it's for a longer journey. It's for your entire life. Could a thing exist? Well, there were citizens back then, called Egyptians, who lived in a very interesting place. These folks said that there are some really cool tips for the journey of life. And who wrote this book? Gathered all these pieces of advice from Egypt, all these tips, and left them for us. And that's what I wanted to share with you. Are you going to take an amazing journey through life? There are a lot of interesting things to do. But there are also some things, kind of strange, the somewhat dangerous, complicated things. It's good to have someone who taught you, someone who made the journey successfully, someone who got there ahead and enjoyed it well, without getting hurt, without falling into any deep holes. I brought this conversation for you today. So, we're going to talk about the Kybalion. What is the Kybalion? It's a backpack you carry, and inside it are the laws of the journey, in other words, the rules of life. Do you want to know it? I think you're going to like it. Let's go? Well, the first thing we need to understand to grasp this story, to really get it, is that this story was written by a sage. And what the heck is a sage? We need to understand this. When someone tells you that a person is a sage, what do you think that means? Someone who studied a lot, read a ton of books. Is that really it? Do you know? What do you think? Look, I think it's not just that. So, we're going to talk a little about that. Someone who read a ton of books, but he doesn't experience anything like what he read in the book, is still the same person. Is this guy really a sage? Or do they need to do something more than just read books? So, imagine this, the guy I mentioned here. Let's say he's giving a lesson on fear. He's read every book there is about fear. Then, when this cute little mouse shows up, he's the first to jump into someone else's lap, jumps on the table, and is scared to death. Well, but didn't he read a bunch of books about fear? He read them, but that doesn't help him not feel fear. It didn't make him braver. It didn't make him any less afraid of the little mouse. Does this guy really know anything about fear? I think he may have read a lot of books, but he's not a sage. A sage is that person who, when you look at them, when danger appears, they feel fear, but they manage to control themselves, do the best thing to scare the mouse away so it doesn't bite you, do the best thing to keep everyone from screaming and getting nervous. A sage, even in the most complicated situations, those that are frightening, remains calm, tranquil, and at ease, and knows how to find the best way out of it. He is someone who, when people insult or mistreat him, knows how to respond without losing his cool, without shouting back, without insulting in return. He's really laid back, but knows how to give that kind of response. Good, that kind of response that shuts up someone who said something foolish. But without losing himself, without turning into a beast. When there's a problem, he also finds the best way to get out of it. Why? He's not shouting, he's thinking. In front of the mouse, he's not shouting, he's thinking about what he's going to do. And he's smart, he takes all those things he's read, that he's studied, and knows how to draw from them an answer to decide what he's going to do. There are many complicated things in life. There are many mice and even worse things. A sage is that person who, without losing their cool, knows how to do the best thing when bad things happen, when good things happen. You'll never see him shouting like a madman, nor cursing anyone, nor wanting to hit anyone. He's always laid back, but what he does is always the best way out. You know, it's like those games where once you learn to play well, you go there and find the best way. The sage is like that. He finds the best way to dodge that difficulty, or to overcome that challenge, or to defeat that person, that situation that's trying to bring him down. Reading a bunch of books. It doesn't mean that when things get tough, you're able to do something cool and smart. It's not the same thing. You probably know people who read a ton of books and maybe, I don't know, one person or another who, when things happen, knows how to respond in a cool way. Against the best response. So, this difference between knowing things and truly understanding them. In Egypt, they used to say that the person who knows how to respond to things is a sage. You look at everything that happens to him. He finds the coolest answer, the best way out. Smart, comes out on top, that's the sage. And you know exactly when you see him walking through life. Today it's trendy, you must have seen it. Those guys, those girls who say, "Don't mess with me or it'll turn into a beast." Don't you find that funny? Turning into a beast's very easy. Oh boy, we all already are. Turning into a beast is easy. Don't you think the hard part is becoming human? That's what's difficult. A beast just growls, yells, and bites. That's easy. Anyone can do it, even a rat can. Becoming human is what's cool. Becoming human is that person who is intelligent, who has a good answer, who knows how to solve things without losing their cool. Hurt anyone, nor get hurt. In other words, what's really cool in life is not turning into a beast. That's easy. There are already plenty of beasts out there. What's cool is becoming human. That's something few people can achieve. And that's what the wise wanted to do. And that's what they did. Well, there's a guy I brought here for you all. You all must have seen his drawings already. He is considered one of the wisest in history. That is Leonardo da Vinci. He was cool. Everything that came up, he found a way out. Better than you can imagine. He was creative, he was clever, he was really cool. Leonardo da Vinci. He never lost his cool. He was always kind. Even if he had to be tough with someone, had to be firm, hold on. Man, not that way. But there's no need to be rude, no need to shout, no need to curse, always kept his composure. He knew how to be firm without being rude, without being violent. He was always calm, doing the best things, things he could do. Everything he did was always intelligent. Well thought out, that was Leonardo da Vinci. And he knew how to use everything he had read to be a good person, because that's the big takeaway from this journey. Everything you learn, use it to become a good person. Use it to become human, because that's what's most needed out there. There are plenty of people who turn into beasts. We need people who become truly human. And these people use everything they learn to respond to life in an intelligent, clever way, always having the best answer. Folks, it's kind of hard to find, right? But there's this little place I'm going to tell you about, which is Egypt. You must have heard about him around. It exists today, it's a country. But back then, a long time ago, Egypt was considered the place in the world with the most wise people. People didn't worry about that. That people not only had read a lot of things, but also knew how to use that in life. Have you ever stopped to think about when you eat? There are things that nourish your body, things that give you health, but there are a lot of things you eat that your body just discards. And your body lives only from what it assimilated, from what it made use of, not from what it discarded. If you read a bunch of books and don't use them for anything, of course your memory will discard it all. What is it that gives health, that does good? It's what the body makes use of. It's what the mind also benefits from. What you have learned and are using. And it's working, and you're finding a way to do things much better than before. That's what truly matters. This makes you become more and more human. This helps you give cooler and more meaningful responses to life's challenges. Unlike everyone else who does everything the same way, you find your place in the world. Leonardo da Vinci was one of these, and in Egypt there were a bunch of people like that. This was important to them. They did everything to ensure that people weren't just filled with knowledge, but knew how to use these things in life. And there was one of them, one of these Egyptians, named Hermes. And they say he was the smartest one, meaning he was the wisest. They say he was very much a people person and that his responses to life, to everything that happened, he knew how to find a human way to handle it. A cool way, a way that makes everyone happy, a way that only brings good things to the world. That's why they say he was the wisest of them all. This Hermes, he believed in the following, that there are certain laws that apply to everything in the world. In the small, in the large, everywhere. For example, if you have something in your hand. An apple, if you let it go, falls. That's a law, which people call the law of gravity. Anything heavy that you let go of, poof, it falls. That's the law of gravity. He used to say, okay, sure, there are a lot of different kinds of laws, but there are 7 laws, 7. If you learn them well, it's like those travel tips from your friend. They help you take a super cool journey through life because they apply to everything. For a bunch of different situations, with your friends at school, with your parents at home, they are useful for a lot of things. So they would say, do you want to take a cool journey through life? Learn these 7 laws. And don't forget, man, keep it with you. Carry it in your backpack through life out there. Because this will help you. It is like a key. It will open a lot of doors for you. Because they are keys that open every door you will encounter in life. Isn't that cool? And these 7 laws are what I brought for you to learn about. Because someone who knows how to use them properly is generally a happy person and helps everyone else be happy too. In other words, it's a person who makes a difference in life. I bet you want to be one of those people. It's really worth it. Let's go. The first of these 7 keys, these 7 laws, that Hermes the Wise left, very interesting, was called mentalism. What the heck is that? Mentalism said something cool, that everything you do, you think about it first. Always. It's difficult. I don't know what you're going to do. Go figure. Are you going to solve a math problem? Turning on the TV? Without having thought about doing it first. Of course now you planned it. You're going to turn on the computer, start up the video game, or pick up your phone, you thought about it beforehand. Everything you do, both the good things and the not so good things. You think about everything beforehand. Then you look at all the things that aren't good in the world, so many people doing foolish things. These people who are doing foolish things, they thought about it before doing it. If we were always keeping an eye on the things we're thinking, and when nonsense pops up, it wouldn't do any good for me, nor for anyone else. That hurts. It makes people suffer. It's bad. If when you thought about it, you said no, the nonsense wouldn't be born into the world. Because before it was born into the world, it was born in your mind. Got it? Then Hermes would say, man, pay attention to what you're thinking. If you don't pay attention, tomorrow you'll be doing those things. And if they're not good, it messes up your life, and it messes up the lives of the people around you. And there are already too many people doing foolish things in the world. I think you've already thought about it, and you really should, that we're here to make things better. Folks, there are already too many people making things worse. We want the world to be better. Everyone wants that. So, before doing things, observe what you're thinking about. That is nonsense. Cut it out. Because if you don't cut it out, soon enough you'll be doing the foolish thing. So, what did Hermes say in this rule? He would say, pay attention to what you're thinking. Notice, stay alert. Bad thoughts. Not that. And think about good things. If you think about good things, tomorrow you'll be doing good things. Good things for you, for your friends, for everyone. Everyone wants the world to be a nicer place to live. Think about it. In other words, pay attention to what you think, because then we cut out the nonsense before we actually do the nonsense. That was the first rule meant to be used throughout your entire life. If everyone noticed the nonsense when it was just a thought, people wouldn't do so many foolish things. Isn't it cool? Isn't it interesting? He is considered a know-it-all, a great sage, one of the greatest in humanity, the greatest in history. The second law that Hermes talked about was the law of correspondence. Look how cool, this is what is interesting. He said that the same laws that make a planet or a star move through space also apply to a stone in your garden. They also apply to the tiny grain of sand you see on the beach. That the same laws indeed work in the big and the small, in many different things. So you say, well, I'm going to look at the stones on the beach. What can the stones, the grains of sand on the beach teach me? It can teach me a lot of things because what applies to it also applies to you. There are laws that are for everyone. Let me give you a tip about what Hermes said about this. You know that group of classmates you have from school or another group. Whatever you say, you won't be able to put up with these people. These people are too annoying. No can do. No, this guy is a no-no. You get to your garden, or any garden, and you'll see in every little corner. There are a bunch of plants, each completely different from the other. Did you know that? In the Amazon, in Brazil, for example, it's the place in the world with the most different plants, each distinct from the other. They call this biodiversity. And they are all different. And look at how well they coexist. You look from afar and don't even notice that it's a bunch. It seems like it's just one. Look at how a plant fits in. One is big, another has a lot of leaves, another almost has no leaves, one is short, another is tall. All of them fit together. All of them being different, yet they manage to work together and create a beautiful garden. And they create a beautiful Amazon rainforest. Stop and think, can't you do the same thing with your friends, who are completely different from you? Your parents, who are completely different from you. Your siblings, who are completely different from you. Instead of fighting with them, can't you blend the differences and be like a garden? It's all good. Everyone being who they are, but respecting who the other is and living together. Well, nature gives, nature creates. Ever consider the Amazon with just one type of plant? It wasn't a forest, there was no beauty, there was nothing. Nature creates, and you are also part of nature. Oh boy, or girl, it works too. You can do it too. Living together with a bunch of different people, not wanting anyone to be just like you, respecting the differences, and making it like a garden, blending the different things. See how you can learn to get along well by observing the garden. That's what Hermes said, the same law. Everywhere, another thing he talks about, for example, sometimes we go through a situation that isn't great. Something that was annoying, something that got us a bit down, and then we don't want to do anything anymore because we went through that. You get sad, you get upset, then he says, well, think about something that makes nature upset. It's winter. In Brazil, we don't have snow. There's none of that. But it dries up, the leaves, everything dries up, and then you think, look at that. They fall, and everything seems lifeless. Then, when spring comes, nature is reborn entirely. Leaves come, flowers come, everything becomes beautiful again. You won't see a plant saying, oh, I suffered, I'm never going to bloom again. More. That's nonsense. It's over, it's over. Time to bloom again, let's bloom again. You won't see any plant crying because it suffered. That's nonsense. Nature renews itself. It learns from what it went through before. But it renews itself and starts all over again. All get back up again and let's move on. It rises stronger, learns from everything, and keeps growing. Isn't that cool? If we learn this, nothing bad in life will ever bring us down. If I fall in the middle of winter, just think, spring is coming soon. I will rise stronger than I was before. When you learn something like this, Nothing in life will bring us down. You will always keep going, always have a spring ahead. Isn't that wonderful? Well, Hermes discovered it. Look at how interesting this is. Everywhere you look, there's a bunch of things that can teach you. Getting out of the cold, getting out of those difficulties when you're in a tight spot, helps you get out of that tight spot. Anywhere you look, you can learn something from things that you can also apply. If you're paying attention, wanting to learn, everywhere has something that helps you. That's what he was saying. This is the principle of correspondence. If it happens with the plant, it can happen with me too. It happens with the stars too. It can happen with me too. I can learn from anything. Think about how cool this is, how interesting. This is the kind of thing that only the clever, only the aware know how to do. The others only learn if they have a piece of paper. The clever, the aware, the wise learn from anything. Anything that crosses his path, he's learning from it and comes out smarter. On the other hand, very interesting, right? Let's go. The third law that Hermes puts in our bag. Vibration. You notice your friends, everyone you know. There are some things, some conversations, some songs, some things that make them vibrate, make them happy with it. Then you listen to the song, you hear the lyrics, and it's just nonsense. Sometimes it talks about drugs, sometimes it talks about things resembling animal stuff. And the person resonates with that. What's going to happen? It's very likely that when this person goes to do things in life, they'll do those things. Because she resonated so much with that, it starts to become a part of her life. A conversation that's just nonsense, everyone bad-mouthing each other, rudeness, and the person resonates and enjoys this type of talk. Do you think that when she goes to live her life, she won't end up resembling that? She won't do the same things. It won't be like that. If you resonate with that type of song that has cool, interesting lyrics, that talks about good things, that deep conversation, things that are good, that make you think about the stars, about life, about everything, of course, when you go to live, you'll live like that. Doing cool things, trying to understand the stars, trying to understand yourself, trying to understand the world. In other words, what we resonate with, it starts to shape us, just like modeling clay. If you resonate with something, it will shape you, and soon you'll be just like it. So, if you hear nonsense in conversation, in music, don't resonate with it. Otherwise, you'll end up like that. Your life will be like that. Try to resonate with cooler things, because you realize how cool. A boy like Leonardo da Vinci was 7 years old and was already resonating with seeing the plants, with seeing the animals, with wanting to learn from nature. He looked at nature and said, "Wow, this is incredible. Let me see what this is." You can choose what you resonate with. And think. If you resonate with very low, negative vibes, soon you'll be just like that. Just like modeling clay. Do you see this happening with your friends? With everyone? It's like this. Hermes used to say, "Be careful with that, young man. Be careful with what you resonate with." What else? Hermes had another really cool concept, which was polarity. What exactly is this thing about polarity? Very simple. Once again, be like Leonardo da Vinci. Look around you. There's a cup of, I don't know, what do you like? Of coffee, of chocolate, it's super hot. You don't like it hot. You let it cool on the counter or put it in the fridge, because soon what was hot is now cold. Why? Because you like it cold, but there comes a time when you find that cup of instant coffee, of whatever you like. Super cold, you say, "No, not today, my throat's sore. Today I want it hot." Put it on the stove or in the microwave. Soon it's hot. Isn't that interesting? What is cold, you can turn into hot, and what is hot, you can turn into cold. What is very tall, you can go and cut a piece to make it short. What is short, you can add some pieces to make it tall. That thing that is soft, if you don't like it, I don't know, a pillow, you open it and put it in. Add more stuffing, it becomes firm. If you don't like it, remove the stuffing, and it becomes soft in your pillow, in everything, and so on. In other words, things can change from one pole to another. What is soft can become hard. What is hot can become cold. Your safe is empty. Soon it might be full. Hermes says, "Is this thing okay?" That's how it is. But stop and think. If you don't like being lazy, for example, you can also change to the other side. You can think, "I don't want to be this way anymore. This thing makes me do nothing. Everything I want to do, every adventure I want to live, I can't, because I can't get out of bed in the morning. I want to stop being lazy and become an active person, someone who gets things done." You can turn it around too. It's just a matter of wanting it and doing it. I don't like that guy at all. Then you'll see that this guy is someone who needs to take action. Friend, he's sad, isolated at school, and you say, "Man, this guy needs a friend." You can take "I don't like" and turn it into "I like." You can turn something you don't like at all into something you do like, if you want to, if you realize it's worthwhile to do so. All the bad things in your life, you can take and pull them over to the other side. Just like you heated up the chocolate milk, just like you put money in the piggy bank that was empty. Things can move from empty to full, from hot to cold, from hatred to love, from enmity to friendship. You just have to say, "I want," focus on it, and move forward. You take it from one pole to the other. In this way, you can change everything in your life. It's just a matter of wanting it. That flaw you have and say, "Oh, I can't stand being the way I am. I don't like it." Think the opposite of that and say, "I'm going to get there and walk every day." There's nothing in the world that will stop you from reaching the other side. Nothing, nothing, nothing. It was Hermes who used to say. Hermes was the wisest man in the world. He used to say, "There's nothing that will stop you from reaching the other side. You just have to want it and move forward." This is called perseverance. It's determination, grit. I want it. I'm going to take this from one pole to the other. And it takes you there. That is a rule. It's something that will be useful. Put it in your backpack. It will serve you for your whole life. What else do we have here? The fifth law that Hermes gives us a cool tip about, which is super interesting, is the law of rhythm. He says to imagine a pendulum. The pendulum swings this way, then that way, back and forth. I think it's swinging too slowly. I'm going to give it a push. Then it goes far, and then it goes far again. What does that have to do with me? It has a lot to do with it. You'll notice that when we go too far to one side, on the way back, you go just as far to the other side. Oh, and what do I care? What does that have to do with me, man or girl? Think about this. I don't study at all. I just stand still, get home, drop my stuff all over the place. I don't even want to think about books. What will happen on the eve of the exam? You'll have to study like crazy, pulling an all-nighter. You won't even have time to sleep or eat. It's to be a killer situation. Know why? You didn't study anything here. You'll have to study everything. Could it be done differently? Yes, sir. If I studied a little bit every day, when the exam came around, I'd only have to study a little. It would stay in the middle. But when you swing the pendulum too far one way, it swings just as far back the other way. One day, you bring your friends over to your house. They make a mess, throw everything around, create a big mess. In other words, the pendulum swings that way. Knows what will happen? You'll have to spend the entire next day cleaning your house. Why? It went too far that way. It must swing back a lot this way. But when I'm with friends, or even when I'm alone. If you dirty a glass, let's take it to the sink. Give it a little wash. Something falls on the floor. Pick it up. As things get dirty, you clean them up. The next day, you can do something else. The house is clean. You don't need to spend the whole day cleaning it. Do you understand that? So, try not to push the pendulum too far to one side. Otherwise, when it swings back, it's going to be tough. You can keep things more balanced. Otherwise, you'll pay a hefty price when the pendulum swings to the other side. This is an interesting thing for you to think about. This applies to your whole life as well. Caught up in a mess, I do nothing. Look, the next day, you'll have to sweat from working so hard to fix the mess from the day before. If you do everything more thoughtfully, do things more properly, the next day it's nice. Every day can be nice. Another tip that Hermes gives within this law of rhythm, which he calls neutralization, is also cool. Pay attention. Imagine you have two friends fighting. Fighting because one wants to get more attention than the other, wants to be more popular, wants to be the best, wants to be the leader, whatever the reason. How do you get these two friends to stop fighting? If you find out why they're fighting, for example, each one wants to stand out more than the other. If you don't want to stand out, if you just want to have good friends, enjoy yourself, but you're not trying to be the best, not trying to show off to anyone, you can go there and help those people get out of that situation. But if you also want to stand out, then there will be three of you fighting for the same thing. This story might seem a bit silly to you, but what if I told you that many of the world's conflicts are just like this too? That people want something trivial, something silly, something that doesn't have much value. Most of the conflicts in the world are because of some trivial thing that those two or more people desire. If you don't want that, if you're not into that, if you're on a different path, you can help show them that it's not worth the fight, that it's not worth the friendship. You can pull them out of it. But if you also want the same thing, you'll end up fighting too. Got it? So, if you don't care about trivial things, like standing out more than everyone else, having more than everyone else, being the top dog, being the best, if you don't desire these things, you can help the people who fight over them to step away. He calls this neutralization. Oh, boy, let go of that. That's worth nothing. Look, you're wasting your life. There's a lot of good things happening. Those who don't desire trivialities can bring peace to the silly conflicts in the world. Stop and think, is there anything better to do for the world than to bring peace? People are fighting everywhere. If you can see, understand, what these people are fighting over and not desire that same nonsense, you can speak in a way that touches people's hearts. Oh, boy, we're really fighting over something trivial. He's talking about something much more important there. So, Hermes used to say, don't desire trivialities, don't get caught up in nonsense. Desire good things, things that help humanity. And with that, you can help the people who are caught up in fighting over trivial things. Make them look up, get out of that mindset, and want better things. That's what he used to say, and look, have you noticed that Hermes is clever? I believe we can bring a lot of peace to the world this way. You have many years ahead of you. Observe what he said. Most of people's fights often happen because those involved desire something insignificant. The other person wants it too, and they keep fighting over nothing. And losing life, and disturbing the world, and bringing confusion, it's just about not liking those same trivialities. Always desire better things, and you help get these people out of that mindset to bring peace to the world. Bringing peace to the world is such a wonderful thing to do. And it's really needed. Think about that. Very, very interesting, right? Hermes knew his stuff. What else does our friend Hermes say? It's almost over. Don't get nervous. Hermes says something very interesting, which is his sixth law, which is cause and effect. Something really annoying happens to you, and you say, darn, why did this happen to me? If you stop to think about it, back then, you must have done something that led to this happening today, just like the garden. I go there and plant a beanstalk. What will grow tomorrow? A beanstalk. Oh, I wanted flowers. Oh boy, you messed up, right? You should have planted flowers. You messed up. Now accept that what you planted is what will grow. Things have a connection of cause and effect. And if you're not liking what's growing in your life, take care of what you're planting. Things don't just fall from the sky. Things grow from what you planted. So, everything annoying that's happening to you, look back at what you did. And everything you want to happen in the future, are you paying attention to what you're planting now? For example, in school, there's that guy or girl who's kind of shy. Every day you go there and tease, make a little joke. Every day, oh, it's just a joke. I'm just trying to have fun. Every day you go there and make a silly little joke. Some time will pass. That guy, that girl, whoever it is, that boy, that girl, will end up being really mad at you. And you know what's worse? They'll end up being really mad at themselves because they'll think they're good for nothing. Everyone makes fun of me. The person becomes depressed or turns violent. Everyone mistreating each other every day, and you say, "Oh, I didn't mean it. It was just a little joke." Take care, young man, of what you're planting, because tomorrow it will grow. If you don't want to harm anyone, don't want to make anyone depressed or violent, be mindful of how you talk to people. Take care of what you do with people, because it all adds up. This is the seed you're planting. So don't complain. Why did this happen to me? Think about the moment you planted the seed for this thing that's growing now. And now look at the seed you're planting to see what will grow in the future. Life is like this. What is Hermes telling you? Pay attention, my friend. Pay attention to what you're planting. If you don't want to harvest that later, if you don't want to eat beans, stop planting beans. Come on. This is the law of cause and effect. It's cool to carry in your backpack. The last law, the last tip, the seventh law that Hermes has to share with us is about gender. However, I request you to forget this idea that gender is just man or woman. Gender, the way Hermes spoke about it, the way Egypt spoke about it, meaning two different things that, together, produce something good. For example, a girl sings. A boy plays the guitar, they come together and create a band, they make music, all different things that, when united, create something cool, add something nice. That's gender. Gender is, sometimes, the hot and cold you mix in the shower to make your water warm. Everything that's different, when it comes together, will create something. And it's good for us to know how to work with this. So, the first thing before we explain, gender isn't just about man, woman, sex, or any of that. Gender is about bringing different things together. Sometimes in philosophy, they call this thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. It's kind of a complicated thing, but that's what it's trying to convey. Two different things that come together and create something new and good, bringing value, something beneficial to people. And that is the law of gender, okay? Shall we continue? The law of gender. Gender comes from generare, which is where the word generate comes from. In short, it's everything you create in the world, everything you do. In some way, it's the combination of things that came from the past. So you combine an idea, then you spend days thinking about that idea, and soon enough, you go and build something. Even on the physical level, you combine a man with a woman, and a child is born. It's something new. You keep combining things. Ideas are born, work is born, a bunch of things are born. So you have to understand how this thing works. Imagine, for example, a person who does good things, who's a great guy, when he teams up with another person who does good things, who's also a great guy. When they come together and work together, only good things are born into the world. Things that benefit people, things that teach, things that help those in need, cool things, different technological inventions, good people, people who do good things. When they come together, only good things are born. People who don't do good things, when they team up with another person who doesn't do good things, what are they going to do? They'll play cards. They'll deceive others. They'll mess around. When you combine something that's not so great with another thing that's not so great, then the result will be something similar to them, right? In other words, they'll mess things up. Now, pay attention, because this is interesting. Sometimes you take a person who doesn't do good things and pair them with someone who only does good things. When this guy, who only does good things, teams up, he can sometimes help the other person. If he allows it, right? Of course, sometimes he can get this guy to stop messing up. He can get him a job, help him make friends, and build a family. When a person is good, when a person does good things, they sometimes help the other, who wasn't doing good things, to start doing good as well. He does, but the opposite can also happen. A guy who doesn't do good things might team up with someone who does, and if the one with the stronger mindset is the one who doesn't do good, he might influence the other to mess up too. So, it depends on who is stronger. Be strong and be good. Do good things, because everything that comes into contact with you will become like you. And you will do good things in the world. You'll build cool things. Look at all the opportunities. If you look around at the amount of things being invented in the world every day, so many brilliant, cool things, The number of discoveries being made in space. So much from the human body. So many objects are being invented. So many people doing so many good things. If you're someone with a good head on your shoulders, if you're someone who's strong, everyone who sticks with you won't drag you down. You'll lift them up. Everything that comes into the world is born from two things coming together and bearing fruit. It could be a thought, a job, or anything else. Think about that. Now the stronger one influences the weaker one. You have to be a good and strong person who knows who you are and what you want in life. You go around lifting everyone up. That's really interesting. It's really good. Another thing he talks about within this law of gender. He says the following. When we start thinking, he calls it mental gender. Usually, first there's an idea, then you keep thinking about that idea for many days, sometimes more than just days. There are people who think about an idea for years, and then they go and build something. It's not like that. Do some work. If you're a painter, paint a picture, or if you're a writer, write a book, do something. But sometimes it can happen. Hermes used to say this in his time. Sometimes it can happen that someone comes along and plants an idea in your head. Boom. And you keep working on that idea, thinking it's yours. And one day, boom, you end up doing something that has nothing to do with you. Because you didn't realize that idea wasn't yours. Haven't you seen that happen before? Sometimes that gossiper in your group comes up to you and says, I think so-and-so doesn't like you. Then, boom, they plant the idea in your head. It's like planting a seed in the garden. And then you stay there, and it starts, isn't it true? Isn't it that so-and-so doesn't talk to me? Isn't it that so-and-so doesn't look at me right? When do you go and argue with so-and-so because of an idea that wasn't yours? Do you know what this person is doing to you? They're turning you into a puppet. Do you know what a puppet is? That little doll with the strings. If you don't want to be a puppet in anyone's hands, stop and see if your ideas are truly yours. If it was you who built your ideas, if it was you who thought of that, if it was someone who, wow, they planted that idea in your head. Today, guys and gals, you have no idea how many puppets are out there. I could tell you, I think Hermes would agree with me, that most people today are puppets, doing things that weren't their idea. When you turn on the TV, when you look at advertisements, they plant an idea in our heads. And we end up working towards it, something we don't even agree with, and thinking it's ours. Every now and then, it's good to stop and think, are my ideas really mine? Or did someone put that in my head? To avoid becoming a puppet in anyone's hands and not doing things you didn't want to do. This is a tip from Hermes, which is too good not to take with you on your entire journey. It will help you a lot to never be a puppet. Sometimes, being a puppet, we do terrible things. It makes people suffer. When you stop and say, gosh, why did I do that? I didn't want to do it. That idea wasn't mine. Therefore, before you act, make sure to think. Take a look inside your head and ask which ideas are truly yours. Or did someone plant something in there? Someone planted a seed. Be careful not to be manipulated, not to be a puppet. This is the 7th law of Hermes. Look at these cool tips to carry in your backpack. That makes all the difference. Imagine carrying this backpack throughout your life. With these laws, it makes all the difference. Sometimes you see people out there, adults, much older than you, who still don't know these things. And they keep getting hurt because they don't know these things. Imagine if you spend your whole life knowing these things, you'll go far. It has a lot of advantages. Your journey is going to be everything. It's going to be amazing. Because you know exactly the script. It has great tips. Hermes is leaving tips for the journey of your life. And finally, what message did Hermes send to us? He said, learn only good ideas from good people. It doesn't mean you can't have an idea that isn't yours. But do you know the person? Think about that idea and say, I agree with this, so I'm going to make it my own. I did it because I wanted to. It's not something that someone threw into my head. Can I pick up Leonardo da Vinci there? Read what he wrote and say this idea is cool. I'm making it my own. But then you took it. No one threw it into your head. You know what you're doing. That's right. Learn from the good ideas of good people who have done good things for you. That's it. That's learning. But letting people go there. So, throwing a bean seed into your head, no. If you don't want beans, don't do that. He will say finally, then, bringing the language of Hermes, who lived a long time ago. We have to translate it into our own words. Hermes used to say, don't learn things just to put them on a test. Don't memorize things only to forget them the day after the test. Learn things for yourself, to use them in life, to use on your journey. To truly learn and become a person, to one day be wise, is to learn things, so that when the situation arises, you know how to use it. It's like a key. Every locked door you face in life, if you have the key, you will open it. These laws of Hermes are keys that can open many doors in your life. And that is truly learning. Learning is not just memorizing for a test and forgetting it the next day. Learning is using it in our lives. And you become increasingly smarter, more mature, more human, with a greater ability to transform the world into a world of people, not beasts. Make a difference. We came here to embark on a meaningful journey. That makes a difference in the world. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope you found it cool. That's what philosophy is. We teach philosophy at New Acropolis to people your age and even younger, but you have to understand these things. These things are not just for taking a test. I'm not going to take the test for you, but it's for you to think about them when you're interacting with your friends, with your parents, when you're deciding what to do with your life. This is something to truly learn. It's not about memorizing to regurgitate on a test. And that's what philosophy is. Learn to live. Not memorizing to regurgitate on a test. I hope this has been good for you. I guarantee that if you carefully keep Hermes' tips and carry them in your backpack, they'll be useful for many things in your life. Great. A hug to you all.